All right. Hey, everybody. Hey, ladies. How's it going? I hope you're having a good week. Okay, so I am here to do a little pre-diet talk, a little pre-diet checklist talk. And you'll note that it took, 2/3 of this round of programming for me to start talking about this. And that's on purpose. Because a lot of times, or let's say most of the time, we look at the solution to these issues all through a diet lens, all through a nutrition strategy lens. And while that's obviously super important, very, very important, it still isn't the aspect that you're going to need anchored long term, right? So the diet part is the part you manipulate. It is the part that has the most powerful effects over time, so on and so forth. It does require the most attention, the most experience, the most, knowledge, so on and so forth. But it is only for a season. Whereas a lot of these other aspects, like establishing circadian rhythm, seeing the benefits for yourself of going to bed and waking up within 30 minutes of each other, things like that. Some of the habit-based things that are lifestyle, right? What is lifestyle? Lifestyle is just another word for consistency. For what do you do most often? What is your lifestyle? What are your habits? So we're trying to establish things like bedtime, wake times, things like that. And that's why, and this is a training group first and foremost, so hopefully everybody right now should be really pounding the PRs. That is the expectation. That's where the expectation is real and is right, as opposed to, sometimes we have a lot of false expectations. But that's the expectation you should have, is you should be getting stronger right now. Your goal with training in this season of life is to get stronger, is to challenge yourself. That's why you compete against that logbook, against that app, or against however it is that you track your workouts. So I wanted to make sure that we establish the things that need to be established for life. Walking. We'll get into this a bit more in detail, but the foundation of the lifestyle are things that we're trying to establish right now already. So that is why the delay. The benefit really, honestly, is that for those of you that really do something with what I'm trying to do to help you nutrition-wise, that take this and do something with that, which I would honestly expect all of you. Otherwise, why even be here in this group if you're not going to try to help yourself to the fullest extent of the help available to you? So I would expect you to take this and run with it. But it then just kind of piggybacks and starts to play over into the next round. It's like girls on our waiting list for one-on-one. Some of them are in the group already, so they have a head start because they've been doing a lot of this metabolic coaxing stuff already. So as you start to tie in nutrition more so and so on, it'll be great. And if you're building out your diet based on my instructions, then as it comes to me continuing to educate on this topic, you're kind of understanding it because it's all done under the same kind of philosophy, if you will. So pre-nutrition, pre-diet checklist. I wrote some notes here, and I'm just going to be frank and say, and I guess the question is, are you ready to go on a diet? Are you even ready to stick to a plan? When I say diet, this is a word that people can play semantics with, meaning that you mean it to mean something, and I mean it to mean something else. It can be meant to mean many things, but for me, and in the context that I'm speaking with, it's meant to mean either a caloric deficit. Hey, so we need to diet to lose fat. Oh, I don't like the word diet. I like lifestyle. Well, you need to eat in a deficit to lose fat. That's all I mean. And then diet strategy is how you go about doing that. How do you package your calories, right? Are you low carb? Are you high carb? Are you paleo? These are all these, packagings. So, but ultimately, most people assume that they just don't have the right diet strategy, failing to recognize that the real issue is they can't stick to anything. So, as I go into this right now, I want to talk about this because this is important. Because ultimately, the goal here isn't to lose weight. Most people have done that successfully multiple times in their life, not realizing, or realizing but assuming one goes into two automatically, that getting it off equals keeping it off. It's not the case. And if you get it off the wrong way, it's even less likely to be the case. But fat loss is ultimately like deflating balloons. If you don't do it properly, they reinflate, and they always can reinflate, but they can really reinflate. So So understand, actually, again, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go. So I'm going to move my head out of the way here. Try not to read ahead. Just pay attention and just listen to me talk to you about this, okay? Because I really want you to win. You're in a good place. You're in a good environment. We have a great community of people. And, and this goes for people in the metabolic group who I'm doing this directly for right now, but also people that are just going on following a strategy that's nutrition-based anyways. If you're trying to, build muscle, lose fat, change your body, of course the training is important. That's a stimulus for change, right? Physique change, remodeling in the body. But the diet is what unveils it. It either supports the ability to build muscle and recovery, so on and so forth, or it doesn't. It supports fat loss or it doesn't, right? So are you ready to follow a plan? Do you binge eat? Do you self-sabotage or self-betray? Do you struggle with that? Do you struggle with consistency? If that's the case, then really you're not actually truly ready to give a plan an opportunity to work for you. So then it becomes an issue of, is the plan the problem or am I the problem? Am I in the way? This is one of the reasons why we track dietary compliance with clients. I always have. There's a number of reasons. One, what gets measured gets managed, and it brings increased awareness to what's important, which is compliance and consistency. But ultimately, it allows me, the person who's making the decisions and holding the person accountable, to see what the issue is. Is the issue you, or is the issue the plan? Unless we know how well you are following through and we're tracking it and measuring it, we don't know whether we need to have a conversation about you and your commitment to you and this process, but mostly it's really to you and the application is to the process, or if the plan actually really does need an adjustment. So I'll get more into that as we start the process, but ultimately you have to be able to be in a place where you can be consistent. And this is why this is critical, because this is where the physical, mental, and emotional health aspects come into this place. Think about it. If you're living in a cycle of self-betrayal and self-sabotage, binge eating, super inconsistent, does that feel emotionally healthy? Does it feel good to be like that, to go through that cycle? No, it doesn't. It affects how you feel physically too. It affects how it affects how you feel mentally, because it hurts your self-belief, because by nature you're breaking promises to yourself. And so everything is interconnected, right? So if that's the case, you're not actually ready to get serious. And the problem with this is when people go into a diet mentality, which is the I'm ready to commit, I'm ready to get serious, I'm ready to change myself and make progress, and they don't even consider this aspect. This puts them into what generally ends up being what we call accidental maintenance. So as I said, you're not ready. You're going to be in the way of the deficit, accumulating metabolic consequences if in a climb, unnecessary fat. So you're trying to eat a deficit, but you're inconsistent. So really, you're in a deficit sometimes, but prolonged, because you're not really making any real progress, so the whole process is taking longer. So you're assuming you're accumulating metabolic consequences that are making you more metabolically reactive. Many of you have been in this situation already, which potentiates fat gain over time. This is why I've always said, if you're not ready, then just don't. It's about get in, kill it, collapse the time it should take to do it, and get out, right? If you're in a climb and you're inconsistent, meaning you're basically trying to rebuild metabolism and you're raising calories and you're inconsistent, you're going to get fat. Unnecessarily fat, right? Which is just going to be fat. You can, of course, diet back off on the other side, but unnecessarily. So if you're this person, even if you're able to be consistent, there's so many out there who are able to follow a plan when they have instructions, when they have that order in place. They can follow the plan and they can get in shape. Competitors can do this all the time. If you have that right deadline-based discipline, you can do it. But then you take that accountability away, you take that safety net of the plan away, and you're left, and as I say here, you'll regain once the safety parameters are taken away, and you're left with what? Just trusting yourself to make good decisions to maintain. Trusting yourself to be behaviorally responsible, to not overeat, to make good choices the rest of your life, to live a good lifestyle, to be da-da-da. whatever. If it was as simple as just doing that, then nobody would have an issue, right? So, are you with me so far? This is an issue. So this is super important because everything that's being done here in this context works really, really well. You're getting a taste of it from here and there. Hey, I'm sleeping better. My energy's better. I'm getting stronger in the gym. So on and so forth. Maybe I'm noticing some composition changes without even having really aspects of this dialed in. Once it's all dialed in, it works. So I'm trying to think of the best ways to make sure this is applicable and effective in a group setting, right? Because let's be real, it's not one-on-one, so there's hard limitations on what can be done, so on and so forth. But I'm going to try to do my best. So understand this is important to, and some of you are going to see where I'm going with this already, hopefully. But the permanent weight loss maintenance stat is 5% success, 95% failure, with 2/3 winding up heavier than when they started. That's within 12 months. Now, I think it's 97% in 2 years, and I think it's 99% in 3 years. That's crazy, right? So 99% of people who lose weight have regained it within 3 years. So think of that unicorn you want to be. But I have some interesting news and some really good news for you that I think is quite brag-worthy. So Amy, Eileen, and Carol have all lost very large amounts of weights. I think they're probably all over 70, 80, 90 pounds each. And they've all had that weight kept off for over 15, 20 years now. So they're all part of that 1%. So there's a way to do it, and it is not just about your actual diet or training program. It's actually looking at this as a complete lifestyle and understanding that there are multiple ingredients in your recipe, right? So this is what I'm asking you to do, because you've had success in years past doing things a certain way, even things that were appropriate at certain times in life perhaps. But one of the biggest mistakes people can make is getting what they think is the right result, but having done it the wrong way, and then unknowingly cause themselves some physical harm inside. So you can't fully grab onto something new until you completely let go of something old. Forget what you think you know. This has to be an inside-out process for it to last. It has to be. If you're chasing the weight, you're outside in. Even if you get there, you have no shot. No shot whatsoever. So here's what we're getting to with this. People with low self-confidence, low self-belief, low self-trust, they struggle to keep promises they make to themselves. This is an equation. This is an if-then type of statement. People with a high degree of these traits built them through keeping promises to themselves. It's the cornerstone of truly believing that you will follow through and do what you said you would do. Right. Imagine if you do struggle with binge eating or self-sabotage or inconsistency with things you want to be consistent with. Imagine if just that one thing stopped. What if it just decreased? We're not even talking about perfection, because that's a low standard anyway. So what if it just decreased noticeably? That would actually be quite positive in your life if nothing else changed from a mental and emotional aspect. Wouldn't you agree? So consistency, if you think about it, consistency is life-changing. Consistency is a lifestyle, but it's also life-changing. If you can be consistent in all these areas that lead to your goal, say my goal is there or there, I reverse engineer the steps, and I'm going to consistently take action in those areas, that's life-changing. So mentally, emotionally, and physically, all your focus should be on this one aspect, consistency and hacks to be consistent. This is why when you build out your diet, you need to make it so that it's really sustainable. This is why I don't like IIFYM and calorie tracking and individual macro tracking, because it increases a lot of your focus on food. Figure this out. Does this fit into this? It's not background noise. That's heightening the attention that you're giving food. What you focus on expands. You start to care more about this. So I like the way we do it, where we have a base day, where we build a base template for training days and a base for off days. We use that to establish the math, and then we substitute by way of the calculator so that you can remain on plan, but not have so much mental energy and decision-making involved in food in the day. We want it to become as background as possible, because people often give credit to the method, right? The method matters. It has to be sustainable, but there's a lot of ways of packaging what works. So the key is making it sustainable, putting it in the background and focusing on what the real progress driver is. You being consistent to something, right? Give yourself attention to that. Attention to be consistent. Attention to winning. Attention to winning on that stuff that's in the background that I just follow every day. That's the right way of doing it. Therefore, you connect your success to the right thing. If people drop 30 pounds going keto and they think it's all about going keto, they're going to psychologically connect to keto. If they slide, they'll go back to that. If you connect it to the right thing, which is consistency, you were real this time and you saw it through, then you will recognize that regardless of how that's packaged, that's always the ticket. That's always the ticket. There's no magic, it's work. So, self-betrayal behavior, that's what it is, right? You start off in the morning with the intention, and in the evening you lose. Everyone's been there, and it will happen. It's not like you're not going to be, it's not like it's not going to happen. The key is a matter of understanding that it's just not who I want to be, and therefore, even when it does happen, it certainly doesn't happen 2 days in a row, so on and so forth, and you continue to kind of rehearse what it's like not to be this. So actions do not match intentions. This is going to make it really, really hard to see this through. To see this isn't like working with a virgin metabolism, a very young, not been through the diet rodeo, so to speak. There's wear and tear. There's more rust. There's more age. So there's more gentleness. There's more care. There's more compassion. There's more love given to the process, and there's more patience given to the process as well. So you do have to understand that it takes time and it's done through a different lens. So self-sabotage is the real issue here. That's the real issue that prevents you from feeling good about this process before you're there, right? Because if you actually stop self-sabotage and you consistently show up the way you want to, you start to believe that you can do it. And if you believe in what you're doing, and now you believe in you who is doing it, you understand that the equation now is a formula and I just need time. I trust the method. I'm building trust that I can do it. Just time. It's just a matter of time. I've already won. I'm in the future now and I've already won. It's just walking the steps. Right? Does this make sense? This is important. So, goals and self-worth. If you don't believe you're worthy of an outcome, hold on. If you don't believe that you're worthy of an outcome, you're going to self-sabotage and you won't produce an outcome greater than you think you're worthy of. So if you don't think you're going to, there's a quote I don't know who said it, something like, I think it was Thomas Edison actually, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if you think you can do it, you'll keep trying, right? If you think you can't, you won't. You'll quit. You'll just give up. So if you don't believe you can do it, if you're worthy of the outcome, you will find ways to self-sabotage because it won't be worth it in the moment to hold on tight when you get the impulse. So you must build two things. One, you need to find ways to increase faith in yourself. So increase belief or trust in yourself. Why? Because at the end, remember at the beginning, back here, I said, can I go back? You'll regain once safety parameters are taken away and you're left with trusting yourself, which is having faith in yourself. So you need to find ways to cultivate and build faith in yourself. You need to find ways to increase your identity when you look in the mirror, right? So if you don't believe it, you won't achieve it. This is one thing that I don't think I touch on often, but it is a pervasive aspect of dieting and the diet culture, and it's kind of that getting away with it mindset. So it's like somebody might have a bit of an off plan or a bender of a whatever, and they come back and they're like, woo, I only gained 1 pound or I didn't gain any pounds. Yes, and they just feel great about it. I'm like, you're celebrating having gotten away with it. That's it. You're celebrating having gotten away with behavior that is no good, that you're not really happy of. It wouldn't take you anywhere, and it's not healthy. But it didn't seem to have external consequences in the lens that you call consequences. You got away with it. That's never going to be the way to maintain progress, because that's not an internal change. That's looking at it as an outside-in success, right? You didn't get away with anything. You got away with the physical consequences, but you know deep down inside what it's about. And again, this is an inside out game. If you're in shape or you feel crappy about yourself, it doesn't matter what your body looks like. We all know this, although we don't. So you don't need a scale to tell you how consistent and compliant you've been to intentional eating. You don't need the scale to check that. You need to just look at your consistency. Many use the scale because you think it's telling you what you can or can't get away with your lack of consistency. But if this is your level of commitment, then you're always going to be one step forward and two steps back. So think of marriage. If you think of like a marriage in the context of this, and what you could get away with within the context of being married, what kind of quality of marriage or relationship would that be, right? Not an authentic and not a good one, and certainly, well, pretty dysfunctional one actually. So it's really not much different. So as I said here, if you have a goal of self-improvement, right? I want to improve myself. I want to feel better about myself. That's really what it's all about. Everyone that wants to get in better shape is chasing an emotion. They're chasing, whether it's a feeling of confidence and how they identify with confidence, but they're chasing an emotion as it pertains to how they feel about themselves. If you have a goal of self-improvement, and nutrition, training, diet strategy is a part of that path for you, then your level of commitment is a reflection of the most important relationship you have, the one you have with yourself. This ultimately then says, I want to improve myself, and this is my strategy, but I keep cheating on it. That's a you and you issue. That's an inside out issue, right? That's self-betrayal. That's self-sabotage. So getting away with it is never going to be the path. It's always going to be the fact that, I'll give you an example. I was in Arte a couple years ago, which is an entrepreneurial leadership group that Amy and I were in with Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. And there was a challenge, and we had put, it was a fitness challenge, and we had to say we would lose X pounds by the next summit, and we'd put money up, right? And it was just a challenge to do it. So we had put up a chunk of money to do it, and I had like 2 weeks left, and I just had taken it too slyly. And towards the end there, I had to really be serious about it and really pony up. And at the point was, towards the end, I could have easily gotten away with having a few extra raspberries. I remember a couple times, but there was no room at that point for it. So I would have, and this is an extreme example, but I'm just using it as an example of the mindset I had about that, meaning that I could get away with this and it wouldn't matter, right? Or and it wouldn't really affect me, but I would know that I didn't do everything that I could. And at that point I was behind, so I was doing everything. I went hardcore, extreme, everything that I wouldn't do. But it was actually a situation I put myself in for that particular challenge, right, that we had been a part of. But I could have gotten away with certain things, but I was going all in, and therefore at that point it was more a matter of you don't get to get there and get away with it and feel good about it, right? So the earning aspect of it is part of what makes you feel changed personally as you go through the process. So that example didn't really come out the way I had hoped. I hoped it would, but hopefully you felt you kind of saw the message I was trying to say. So this is from Ed's new book. He says standards are the actions, the process steps linked to the thoughts you have related to your goals. You can't create a goal without creating a standard to achieve that goal. Your standards are the gatekeeper. They'll help you or they'll hurt you. Outcomes you can't control, standards you can control. Adjust your standards to make your outcome more certain. So this is the process steps, again, to ensure that the strategy that you put together, the strategy you learn about from a nutrition, science or whatever that may be, however you interpret it, would look like, you got to be able to be consistently doing it. And ultimately, the whole part of this, for this to be a transformation that lasts for you, is that it's inside out. If you don't change your standards, your goals are irrelevant. This is like when I talk about the weekends. Your weekends expose your lifestyle. It's get to responsibility or get to structure versus have to structure. Standards are the specific set of actions you must take to achieve your goal. They're the process steps. They're most valuable when they're precise. So where does this lead to? This, of course, leads me, as I wrap up this, to Amy's DAC, Daily Agreement Card, which we affectionately call a self-sabotage solution, which it is, because it brings you intention to what you would define as things that would make you feel good that you did them at the end of the day. Otherwise, you don't get an opportunity to give yourself a pat on the back. Right? And as you do these things, just the way the brain works, just the way your brain's wired, self-trust starts to be cultivated one little W at a time. So Pearson's Law, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets reported improves. It brings intention and attention to these things. And it brings intention and attention to the things that you would define as feel-good wins. This builds self-trust and self-confidence. It's a pattern and a habit of keeping commitments to yourself. Tracking and intentionally acknowledging your follow-through, your wins, your times you kept promises to yourself, how much more you're winning than losing is a formula for building self-trust. Circle back to the beginning. You're going to need lots of this self-trust to maintain. You don't have it if you can't be consistent. So if you can all of a sudden be consistent because you have a plan, you have to be able to build this outside of that aspect along the way, so that when you pull that aspect out, this still remains and you can still manage this on your own because you've changed. Your mindset around food and this whole process has changed, and therefore your emotions have changed, your physical body, your health has changed, so on and so forth. Be careful where your confidence is coming from. As you're changing, people can say, hey, I get a bi-weekly. Oh, such and such noticed my progress. They commented on my weight loss. Felt so great. I'm like, yeah, that's fantastic. It's great for motivation, that little inspiration, right? But I would rather you filter it through this. It sounds like they're complimenting what they see, right? And that's what you're after. You want to look better. What they're really complimenting, and how you should interpret it, is they're complimenting you on what you've done. Wow, you've lost weight, which means I can see that you've been working on something. I can see that you've been consistent. I can see you've been up to something and you've been successful at it. They're giving you a compliment on your work, the process aspect. So it goes back to that. That is a reinforcement of being consistent. Always bring it back to the process, to the standards that you've set, that you are setting by following something that allow you to have this result. So standards change, habits change, you change, and things remain changed. So Amy and I were on a walk the other night, and she said it this way when we were talking about, say, I'm going to do this before I start my nutrition stuff, a pre-diet type of checklist conversation. She said, listen, if you can't keep 4 basic promises that you yourself chose, how do you expect to consistently follow a diet? You won't be able to. If you can't stick to 4 agreements that you make, you can't follow a diet. You're never going to be able to do it. So, behavior, a behavior goal, an activity goal, a nutrition goal, and a personal growth goal. If you can appreciate what I'm saying when I say this is a health journey, but it's a mental, emotional, and physical health journey, which means everything should be in alignment. What good is our physical body being awesome if our mental health and our emotions are off? And whatever other permutation of that equation you can come up with, what good is if 1 is on and 2 are off? So appreciate this is a health journey, a longevity journey, one that we all want to win at and get gradually better at over time, so that next year these habits are a little bit grooved more deeper. Every year that I walk, nearly every day of the year, reinforces that it's likely never to end for me for the rest of my life. Right? This is what we're trying to pattern in here, because sure, we want to be healthy, we want to look great, we want to model good, healthy habits for our family and our loved ones, and we want to age well, we still want to look, look great, right? So have the vanity goal. But this is important because this is a formula to give your diet a good opportunity to work. People say when they get all stressed out, oh, I don't want to do it, or I don't want to do this. You know why we don't want to do this? It's like people who don't want to calorie track when they know it's a formula for success. It's a formula. This is a formula for building self-trust. Because when you don't show up, when you are so deep in self-betrayal, this makes you feel bad. Oh, it's showing me where I lost. It is, but that's accountability. That's the whole point of accountability. That's just an immature response to accountability. It just is. I'm not saying, it's not a judgment. It's a fact. I do it. We've all done it. It is what it is. We're all the same. So, but ultimately, we have to push into that and still do it anyways. When you're in a group format with people, it's a lot easier when you have community amongst you. So, you really need to, as you're going to start to hopefully put into practice or apply or, get serious about the nutrition aspect of this, make 4 promises to yourself. Keep 4 promises to yourself. Start super tiny. Get 5 wins in a row. You don't get to start no diet plan until you're 5-0 on something. Start easy, rack up wins. Intentionally do so, right? Follow Amy's system, the DAC cards. You just W loss. Do it for yourself, and it will allow you to give that diet an opportunity to work because you'll be consistent. And here's the thing here. Intentional living really has no finish line. So if you again see this through a health lens, not a scale lens, not a weight loss lens, there is no finish line. So you'll start to appreciate that these are practices that you continue. You don't get to get good at something and then just stop it. Like, where does that ever work? Like, who does that? Does an athlete do that? Do people that that doesn't work in any area of expertise where you just get to do it, stop it, and maintain. You got to keep doing some work, some maintenance work. So finally, pre-diet checklist, decide in advance what you're willing to sacrifice when you're committing for this season. This isn't forever. There's a season of commitment, a season of change, a season where I'm getting serious around manipulation, and there's lifestyle, there's maintenance. We're trying to build lifestyle while in a season of manipulation, but understanding that it's for a season. What are you willing to sacrifice? Decide in advance. What are your non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables for yourself that you know are going to help you succeed? And what are the ones that are not going to be changing for you, so you don't have to wrestle in your head when they happen, right? Decide in advance, accept them either way. You need to have consistent bedtime and wake-up routines established. No-brainer, right? Reminder, circadian rhythm is physiological magic. If you're not doing this yet, then I don't even know. I'm going to keep talking about sleep, but this is key. If you want to optimize this, then obviously you're trying to get out get sunlight in your eyes within the first 20 minutes of the day. You're trying to avoid blue light in the evening and any kind of stimulation at night that would keep you up. You really should see, if you think about sleep, if you think about getting up in the morning and preparing for your day, your 8-hour work day, then we just kind of go to sleep. We don't even prepare for it. There's no wind down routine. There's nothing that prepares us or soothes us into sleep. So you really need to take it very seriously, and it will change everything for you, I promise. So daily, leisurely, parasympathetic, activating, stress-reducing walking. You guys know the drill. 30 to 60 minutes. It can be broken up, but this is wonderful. I know you are already really appreciating this one. Daily self-care, stress-reducing routine. This can be hit and miss for some people, but if you're in a season of stress, you need a higher season of self-care. And what does this come back to? Awareness. Awareness and presence with yourself. And this is one thing DACs are going to help with, because you have to be present and aware and intentional to meet your BANG, your behavior, activity, nutrition, and growth. It keeps you present in your day and keeps you from checking out. You have accountability built into that. We don't want to turn away from accountability. We want to lean into accountability, understanding that the goal here isn't to be perfect. It's to be consistently really good and never to lose 2 days in a row. Conquer the mornings so you can control your afternoons and care for your evenings. Craig Ballantyne taught me that. And I like to say, conquer the mornings so you can control and not chase your afternoons, and care instead of crash into your evening. So attack the mornings. We had in the last challenge, controlling the first and last 60 minutes of the day. No social media and email. You know what? I'll tell you something. I have struggled for a long time, Amy can tell you, with focus, right? I've had a lot going on in my life in the last year with transition and my mom in Florida and all this, Amy's health and our family and work, just a lot on my plate. And focus has been a challenge of mine. It's been a verbal complaint of mine. When we started this challenge in the last, challenge in the group, I've taken it, quite extensively further. I'm up, 6:15 in the morning. I don't check email or social media, 9 times out of 10 now until probably 9 or 10 o'clock. So I have the whole morning that I'm owning. It's all mine. Because the moment you check email, the moment you actually check social media, you check whatever, you're reactive. You're not in control of the day. You've introduced yourself to the world. It's like, okay, what do I react to now first? Could be good, could be not. I had it in the morning. I checked my email mistakenly. I didn't like the email. It set off through my whole first half of the workout. I'm like, that was reinforcement. Do not touch. Safe zone for me. This allows me to control my morning and do it all for me. Everything that I want to do to take care of myself with my training, my self-care, my walking, my this, my that, my devotions. And then I go into the day. And it makes me mentally prepared for the day. And it's very stress reducing. Evening time too. I appreciate it now more, so you get more off your phone at nighttime. It's going to interrupt this. I respect the fact and I believe the fact that it hurts our ability to focus. It's not positive, so on and so forth. It's de-stressing. Follow through on these things. They do make a difference. So control the first and last 60 minutes of your day, right? De-stress. It's big. You need to have de-stressing practices in your life for this all to work. So this is a pre-diet checklist. This is way longer than I thought it would be. Hopefully you see the value in it because it's super important for this all to work. Otherwise, you just got ingredients that don't fit. Strength hypertrophy-based training 3 to 5 times a week plus daily walking. Got you covered right here for that. You ladies are doing awesome. Establish a 5-day tracked winning streak with your DAC. At least, you got to go 5 wins and 0 losses before you can start getting some application into your diet. And, do Amy's next boot camp whenever. I got to see when she's doing it, of course, and she announces and stuff. But, it's the community, the power of the community. And it's a practice that you go into in the boot camps, you revisit, so on and so forth. But it's intentional living. The mistake you can't make is everyone gives themselves too much credit when things start to normalize and they take their foot off the gas pedal. That's it. They take their foot off the gas pedal. If you want to win, you don't get to take the foot off the gas pedal. You can let up, right? You can cruise. You may not be slamming it all the time. You can cruise, but you don't get to take the foot off the gas pedal, okay? So no fat loss calories or chase of fat loss if you've been in an attempted deficit or under eating in the last 6 months. Okay, and that's it. So that's what I'm going to be doing next time. How do I approach a new client with assumed metabolic dysfunction, or any new client at all for that matter? Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be back. 37 minutes. I hope you watch it sped up, but I hope you got some out of this and you understand what I'm saying. I want you guys to win, right? So I'm trying to be emphatic about this. You guys have been doing really well with all the challenges and with training and just supporting each other. So I want, since it's not one-on-one, I'm just trying to do as much as I can to give you guys the opportunity to move in the right direction. All right? So we care. Talk to you guys soon.